To know him is to love him. Just
Welcome
to
all.
see him smile.
This is Peter Gentile. I'm bringing you a special 2021 installment of Love Notes. This show will be celebrating the life of Phil Spina, good friend of many of you out there as well as myself, and husband of your Love Notes hostess, Shirley Short Spina. The song you're listening to, this was a long-distance production instigated by Phil. The music track was recorded in New York, sent to Florida, with Shirley in a recording studio adding the vocal, and sending it back to New York to add the Newport's background to it. I think the sound is great, but the subtle message that's delivered by Shirley is so honest and real. Phil and Shirley found a late life love. I am sure Shirley would say, I knew it was always meant to be. Let's listen to the rest of this song.
We're meant to be. To know him is to love him. Just to see him smile makes my life worthwhile. To know him is to love him, and I do, and I do, and I do. And I love you, you know. I love you so. There's gonna be a day when you will know just how much I love you so. And I do. Why can't he see how blind can he be? One day he will see that we were meant to be. Oh, to know him is to love him. Just to see him smile makes my life worthwhile. To know him is to love him, and I do, and I do, and I do.
The show plans to reveal Phil's life as a function of the music that affected him in so many ways through the years. We're going to go through a lot of what Phil did early on in his life with music, from his writings to his very last project with the Newports. Also have an overwhelming number of live performances, as well as interview segments of Phil with Mike Miller, singer, friend, and host of the Harmony Street Show with Mike Miller. Also, Jim Santabarbera, curator of the Wax Museum Show on 88.1 FM Hartford. And lastly, Don K. Reed, our respected and famous host of the DOO-WOP Shop on CBS FM. Phil's passing was on June 20th, 2021, and with due respect, Jim Santabarbera did an improvised 20-minute segment on his own to honor Phil. Let's hear some of this clip that Jim did.
And lastly, on June 20th, we lost singer, songwriter, producer, and former Wax Museum Show guest, Phil Spina. Phil first came onto the scene in 1958 with his group, the Velvet Keys. After 2 releases, Phil realized that his forte was in writing and producing. He began writing and producing for a myriad of groups, including the Riffs, the Paramounts, the Newports, the Dedications, Freddie Froggs Toscano, the Ribatones, Harmony Street with Mike Miller, the Imaginations, Carmine Decina, Reunion, Joe LoCicero, and the Velvet Riffs. Let's hear a couple of songs from the Another Time Around CD that Phil produced. Here are the Newports and DOO-WOP.
Come back, come back, come back, come back.
Dooley-bum, 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 dooley-bum.
My love for you still burns,
Bum, 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 bum.
and for your kiss my lips still yearn. I mean it truthfully and not just foolingly. I pray that you come back to me. I spent a long and lonely day ever since you went away.
To many people's surprise, this song was actually written by Phil in around 1957-58 time frame. Jim Tagliaferri, his partner, had discovered the Newports in Sunnyside. They were practicing under the L, and he offered them the song. They took the song and made it part of their act, though they never got a chance to get into the studio to record it then. But we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. You can listen to the rest of the song.
You still burn, and for your kiss my lips still yearn. I mean it truthfully and not just foolingly. I pray that you come back to me. Oh well, tomorrow will be just another day that I'll go on longing for you. But you can change that in every way by saying that you love me too. My love for you still burns, and for your kiss my lips still yearn. I mean it truthfully and not just foolingly. I pray that you come back to me.
Come back, come back, come back, come back.
Dooley-bum, 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 bum.
Come back, come back, come back, come back.
Dooley-bum, 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 dooley-bum.
The lead on this song is being sang by a gentleman named Artie Ross. And if you listen to the bass part, that significant bass is being sung by a gentleman named Jimmy Pace. Both Jimmy and Artie were original Newports members, and they were offered a chance at recording this by Ed Engel, who produced the compilation Newports album in 1999. So this cut was actually done in around the 1999 time frame. So the story between Phil and Jimmy is rather interesting because Jimmy in 1980s replaced Phil in the Ribbertones when Phil decided to venture off to develop the Velvet Riffs. Later on, when we actually got together to do the Another Time Around album, Jimmy's doing about 4 of Phil's songs. He's actually doing the lead. And during that time, we discovered that Phil actually wrote the DOO-WOP song. So that means the song was written around 1959, and everybody finally realized Phil wrote this song in 2014.
My lips still yearn. I mean it truthfully and not just foolingly. I pray that you come back to me.
Come back, come back, come back, come back.
Dooley-bum, 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 bum.
Whatever happened to my dancing queen? Has anybody heard? Has anybody seen my little dancing queen? Hey, let me tell you about the girl I knew. There was no dance that she couldn't do. Out on the floor she was the queen, had the best moves that I'd ever seen. Without a doubt that girl was good. bare feet, she'd be shaking and jerking with every beat. The crowd would all begin to roar. Queenie, baby, show us some more. Now she get this look upon her face, like she was floating in outer space. The crowd would really come alive. Queenie's body go into overdrive. Whatever happened to a dancing queen? Has anybody heard? Has anybody seen? She vanished late one Saturday night. Ever since then she's been out of sight. Whatever happened to a dancing queen? Dance right in and out of my dreams. Dancing queen, dancing queen, dancing queen, dancing queen. We heard she ran off to Hollywood with a tall, dark stranger who was looking good. The last time we saw her, she was waving her hand, drove off smiling in this great big black sedan. Now we've seen her picture in a magazine. She was looking chic, looking clean, all decked out in leather and lace. Queenie had that smile upon her face. Now I know what happened to my dancing queen. Now I've heard and now I've seen. I just hope that her star shines bright. Maybe I'll see her name in lights. Now I know what happened to my dancing queen. She danced right in and out of my dreams. Dancing queen, 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 dancing queen.
Two in a row in memory of Phil Spina, whom we lost on June 20th. From his Another Time Around CD, we heard the Dedications and Dancing Queen and the Newports and DOO-WOP. Producer Phil Spina left us on June 20th. Thanks, Phil, for all you have done. We won't ever forget.
Well, I'd like to thank Jim Santa Barbara for doing that dedication to Phil. It's very timely. Comment on the singers of that last song, Dancing Queen. Lead was done by Dennis Schmidt. One of the background singers was Lou Ligori, both who were at the time singing with the dedications, but both Lou and Dennis were original members of the Velvet Riffs. I have a clip of some memories about Dennis from Lucy, Phil's daughter, and I'm going to play them for you.
Okay, I wanted to tell you a funny little story. I get this message maybe 2 weeks after my dad passed or so, and it's Denny, and he says, "Hi, Lucy, I don't know if you'll remember me, but I used to sing with your dad. My name is Dennis Schmidt." And I wrote back, "Denny, you need absolutely no introduction, my friend." I'm like, "You are so well known to my family. Of course I remember you." How could I ever forget? He was such a lovely gentleman, and my dad always spoke about him. And just shortly before Dad passed, he had received a picture of Dennis, a recent one, and he said to me, "Lou, look at this guy. He doesn't age. He looks just like when we used to sing together." Yeah, so I told Denny that. I'm like, "Dad had just shown me a picture of you recently," and I said, "You need no introduction." You know, it was so sweet how he thought that he had to reintroduce himself to me like I wouldn't remember him. I said, "You're unforgettable," you know?
Well, we've got a lot of memories recorded from Lucy that will be coming up throughout the show here. One is Phil's earlier days on the streets of Queens. Queens was still a tough neighborhood where he lived. It was kind of a mafia-controlled area. He had a street gang called the Corner Boys. If you look on his Facebook account, you'll see this picture. It's a classic picture. His lifelong friend, Carmine DeSena, and Phil actually kind of captured a street view of the time in the song they did called Crazy Vinny. And that's on Another Time Around album also. In Carmine's word, Phil was related to the people who owned the property that my father rented the business from. Phil was close to me and my family, and he was a really tough kid in the neighborhood. He belonged to a group called the Corner Boys in Springfield Gardens. Nobody messed with Phil Spina. I got a similar comment from Lucy on that.
And speaking of policemen, and you'll excuse my language, when Dad was first getting sick and as he was fighting this blood cancer, which ironically didn't even take his life, Carmine would ask me for secret updates. And this past year, yes, or he would call me secretly and I wouldn't tell my dad. And we were talking maybe the end of last year or early this year, and I said, Carmine, I don't know. He's just not getting better. He's in a lot of pain. It breaks my heart. And I said, I see him just kind of, isolating and slipping away. And Carmine said some things, and then I'm going to say this because it was so fitting. He goes, let me tell you what, my friend, my brother was one tough motherfucker back in the day. And that about summed it up, because Dad was also known for his, might. And when Carmine said that, I said, Carmine, the funny thing is he would say the exact same thing about you, about Carmine. Yes, very cute story. I love that. And then I ended up telling Dad, and he laughed. Yeah. Yep.
Yo, down South Brooklyn, hell of a place. Every nationality, every race. Back in the days when the wise guys ruled, one guy stood out. He was cool. What's his name? His name is DOO-WOP. What kind of stupid name is that? It's Italian. You got a problem with that? No problem. In English, it's Crazy Vinny. When Crazy Vinny was just a kid, did all the things the wise guys did. Toughest guy in the crew. Nothing Crazy Vinny wouldn't do. Now the old man's number one. Told what to do, yeah, he get it done. I remember the day when the old man died. Crazy Vinny was at his side. He smiled at Vinny, gave him the ring. Hey, you're in charge of everything. He's a wise guy. Each and every day, he's a wise guy. In every way, he's a wise guy. He's really cool. He's a wise guy. He ain't no fool. He drives fancy cars. He smokes big cigars. He dates movie stars. He's Mr. Big. Collects the pig. He's like a pig. Yo, Vinny. 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 Joe Farfadone, Vinny's right-hand man. Vinny gave the orders, Joe followed the plan. Angela Gomard, Vinny's main squeeze. She was smoking hot, quite a tease. Came on to Joe with a booty call. Joe couldn't resist, he took it all. When Vinny found out, he was really sore. You won't be seeing Joe Farfadone no more. 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 The crew told Vinny, Sally the rat. Vinny worked them over with a baseball bat. Sally ratted him out to survive. Now my pal Vinny's doing 3 to 5. The cons knew Vinny was the man. Vinny took charge, he had a plan. Sent out a message to prove a point. He's still running things from inside the joint. Yo, Vinny. 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 Vinny came home after doing a tree, reunited with the family. Hit the streets hard, worked non-stop, showed everyone he was still on top. In his world, Vinny was the star, but then you can only push so far. There was no need to explain why the king of the streets lay there slain. Yo, Vinny. 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 No one asked who ordered the hit. Couldn't make much sense of it. Vinny's funeral was quite an affair. Anyone, everybody, they were there. Cameras rolling, they weren't shy. The Daily News, the FBI. That's what mob life is all about. Once you're in, you never get out. Once you're in, you never get out. Once you're in, you never get out. You never get out. You never get out. Once you're in, you never get out. You never get about it. You never get out. Once you're in, you never get out. You never get out. You never get out. Once you're in, you never get out. You never get out. You never get out.
Mike Miller did an interview with Phil, and early on he talks about Phil's development and where he learned his 50s style, how he actually started to put together groups, and how he started to write. So there's a lot of good insight in that interview, and we're going to play some of those clips from Mike's interview with Phil.
What kind of music turned you on at an early age?
Well, one girl in the neighborhood brought into a party one night rhythm and blues. When I went into high school, my first year in high school, we used to mimic the groups, but then I heard it live and in person, mesmerized. 1954.
And were there groups in the neighborhood that you could kind of emulate, that either went to your school or hung on the corner at that time?
Well, not in our neighborhood. I actually formed the first group in our neighborhood, but in school, I was, the first year I was there, I ended up with Leroy Parrish of the Locktones, William Courtney, and David Marriott of the Concepts were all in my class, and
wow.
I guess they were my tutors that really taught me how to sing the harmonies true and really got me into it. And then naturally I carried it back to the corner with me. I'll tell you about that group. It consisted of David Marsh. I can't remember the guy's last name. It might have been Pete Davis, who we used to call Pete the Bass, Donnie Harrison, Vinnie Pascal, and myself. It was a mixed group, and we opened up for none other than the Heartbeats, and we sang "Oh, But You Did."
Wow.
The flip side of "That's My Desire."
I tried to reason with her. It really didn't do no good. She went out with everybody that lived in our neighborhood. Oh, but she did. Oh, but she did. She did. Well, she did. Hey!
It was rough in the early beginnings of the music. And then once I started hanging out with Leroy Parrish, my whole world to the music changed, because now I had a tutor that I respected and knew that he was showing me the right ways to sing the harmonies, and it didn't take me long to really catch on. I guess I had the natural ear for it. Anything else. And Leroy really was patient with me. However, I was a fast learner, and I learned actually how to do all the various parts by just listening to him show the other guys, and naturally I carried that back to my corner and started to do the same thing. So it worked out to my benefit to naturally have a person like Leroy that loved me and really took a great part in me being what I am today by actually showing me the way to sing this music properly.
Well, here's Leroy Parrish and the Locktones singing "The Letter."
It didn't work out, and we ended up naturally recruiting a couple of new members and starting a group that was local, and that became the Velvet Keys,
Right.
Who was probably ahead of their time. We ended up with a contract to King Records and actually did make 4 records for them.
Who was in that group?
That was Tommy Mallon, Vincent Pascal, Stanley Wagner, and myself. It was a 4-man group. They were a Cincinnati-based company, and we didn't get any airplay in New York. And Little Willie John recorded on the same session as us, and his song took off, so they put all the power behind his song, and we were kind of left in the wings. And when they asked us to come in and do the rest of the sessions, I kind of backed off of it, and eventually the group just split.
Well, it seems at 15 years old, Phil had a great experience, actually. Even though King Records didn't really pan out for them, they did manage to record 4 great songs. Stan Wagner had a discussion with Ron Lockwood, I used to DJ on the Thrill of the Night show. This is a clip from 2005. Yeah, Ron is actually relaying the discussion he had with Stan, talking about how they put together The Truth About Youth, and I'll play that clip for you.
A couple of weeks ago, I got an email passed on to me from another friend, and he put me in touch with a fellow named Stan Wagner. And Stan sang with a group called the Velvet Keys, who had 2 fine releases back on the King label in 1958. And we got to chatting and talking a little bit about his talent and the group and everything. And one of the stories he told me was that an interesting sidebar to The Truth About Youth is that we went to the recording session and had only rehearsed Don't Take My Picture, Take Me. King had high hopes for this side and wasn't worried about the other side. Henry Glover and Rudy Toombs wrote The Truth About Youth the night before. Glover played it on the piano and sang the lyrics. We picked it up, made a quick background, and recorded it in less than an hour. And he liked it better than their original Don't Take My Picture.
I know that someday they'll understand when at the altar I take your hand. This story's told with a band of gold. The truth about you, I hear them calling puppy love as they did years ago. But they should watch this puppy love that makes our true love grow. I know that someday they'll understand when at the altar I take your hand.
At this time, I'd like to tell you that this is the Thrill of the Night show, and I'm Ron Lockwood.
The band of gold, the truth about you.
To continue with Mike Miller's interview, Mike actually asked Phil which of the King recordings was the most popular.
Well, I would say probably the best known song of all is My Baby's Gone, which we wrote together.
Oh yeah, my baby's gone away. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, I begged her to stay. Yeah, 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 yeah. My baby's gone far away. Oh, she's gone, and now I'm left here alone by a blue telephone.
On the Wax Museum show, Jim the curator got Phil to talk about their audition with King Records. Here's what went on.
You were actually, unusual for a white doo-wop group to be signed to King Records. So how did that all come about?
Well, I think we were the first white group ever to be signed with them. That's what I was told.
40 miles away. Oh, she's gone, and now I'm left here alone by a blue telephone.
And then when we sang My Baby's Gone, Mr. Glover ran in and got his associate, and they were very excited and actually started drawing up a contract immediately.
Will she sing Africa?
When we started the Another Time Around album, Phil told me he wanted to do My Baby's Gone Over. He was unhappy with the rhythm that the King producers used actually in the early release. So we did redo it, and the lead was done by Dennis Schmidt from the Velvet Riffs. We'll play that right after this one.
Far away, so far away. Oh yeah, my baby's gone away. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yes, I begged her to stay. Yeah, 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 yeah. My baby's gone far away. Oh yeah, my baby's gone
gone away. Oh yes, I begged her to stay. My baby's gone far away. Baby's gone, she's gone, and now I'm left here alone by a blue telephone. My baby's gone far away. So far away. Well, she's seen Africa and the seven seas. My baby's even seen the West Indies. Well, she's gone, and now I'm so left alone. She may be 10, 20, 3,500 miles away. Oh, she's gone, and now I'm left here alone by a blue telephone. My baby's gone far away.
So one of the amazing things is Phil is doing the bass on this new cut. One take. He never went back to do any fixes on it at all.
Well, she's seen Africa and the seven seas. My baby's even seen the West Indies. Well, she's gone, and now I'm so left alone. She's maybe 10, 20, 3,500 miles away. Oh, she's gone, and now I'm left here alone. By a blue telephone. My baby's gone far away. So far away. Oh yeah, my baby's gone away. Oh yes, I begged her to stay. My baby's gone far away. Baby's gone. Oh yeah, my baby's gone away. Oh yes, I begged her to stay. My baby's gone far away. Baby's gone. Oh yeah, my baby's gone away. Oh yes, I begged her to stay. My baby's gone far away.
Now, it seems that Phil did walk away from King Records, but something else greater was calling him. It's time to enlist in the Army, which he did. It was 1960.
From our Chicago way, he had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was a top man at his craft, but then his number came up.
Even in the Army, Phil was able to leverage his great talent.
Well, got very lucky. Ended up singing with a group that won the All-Army Entertainment Contest Europe. And we came back to Washington, D.C. at Fort Belvoir, Virginia to compete in the All-Army Finals. And we were in first place till the last day. And then we got beat by an operatic vocal group, you can imagine. When I went back, all I did was I produced groups and sang with groups and put on shows and had a wonderful time and met a lot of nice people. And it was great. We had a group that sang like the Four Freshmen, the High-Lows, and it was really another learning experience for my, towards my background of learning how to do vocal harmonies. It was really a great experience.
Plays boogie woogie bugle, he was busy as a bee. And when he plays, he makes the company jump A to the bar. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy of company B. Do 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 riata do riata do do. He blows it A to the bar. He can't blow a note if the bass and guitar isn't with him.
Well, not very many guys had a great time in the Army, but when you get to do something creative, it kind of takes the edge off a little bit, No,
it was a lot of fun. It really was. I got to handpick the singers, got to handpick the musicians, and lo and behold, one of the musicians that I did pick was Joey D's John Yannick, who has since passed, rest in peace. John worked with me on all my music, and we just had a wonderful time together. And we had a really good group, and we could do routines, we could do steps, and it was lots and lots of fun, Mike.
What was the name of that group?
We used to call ourselves the Artistics.
Okay, fabulous.
And the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B.
my girlfriend. Would you wanna go steady with me? I'd like to be your boyfriend. Oh, honey, can't you see? Why not be sweethearts? Give love a chance. I'd like to be your sweetheart and we'll define a man.
While you were under contract to King, you mentioned to me that you had done some songwriting.
Yes.
And so who was your partner at the time? Can you tell us about that?
Jim Tagliaferri was my partner at the time, and we actually used his name Tagliaferri to get the music out there, and we were lucky enough to get a song on Guaranteed and on another one on Carlton Records. And they were flip sides of songs that actually made the top 10, I believe, in New York. One of them was Trying, and the other one was Old Ship.
The Paramounts did Trying, so they did one of the songs that you wrote. And,
it was called Would You Like to Be My Girlfriend?
Oh, we could be so happy, forever come what may. Oh, we could be so happy. Starting right today, would you like to be my girlfriend? Would you want to go steady with me? I'd like to be your boyfriend. Oh, honey, can't you see? Oh, honey, can't you see? Oh, honey, can't you see?
And then the other song that DeMarco did was on Guaranteed was More Than Riches.
Right.
And they were basically, pretty much simple doo-wop songs.
Right.
And after that, Jimmy, when I went in the service, Jimmy continued to put my music out there, and I found out later on that the Standards did Hello Love. They put somebody else as a writer on there, but that was definitely my song. In fact, I gave Philip Nosey the original vinyl on it.
Right.
And I also found out later that a group from Queens called the Newports did my song, the Dooley Bump song, and Beware of the Weak to Sex. And it was like funny because I didn't hear about that until probably in the 80s.
Your lips are there to kiss me, but please only let them kiss me. Your eyes are there to see well, so please only let them see me. Oh, yes, yes, love, I'd be so lonely, baby. No, don't go, stay with me, baby. Please don't go. My heart will only go.
So, sidebar here, Phil had the Newports working on a new version of Hello Love. This is the music and single vocal track. We never got to the backgrounds. But we did record Beware of the Weaker Sex. That was on the compilation album released by Crystal Ball. I'll play this for you.
Shoot, 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 wah wah. Shoot, 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 wah. Shoot, 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 wah wah. Shoot, 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 wah.
They too tight and wah. They always make you cry. They say that they love you. They proceed to make you blue. They're found throughout the world. Beware of the weaker sex. They smile and wink their eyes, and before you realize you're in their magic spell, you're hooked, it's hard to tell. They're found throughout the world. Beware of the weaker sex. So many times you find the guy singing happy-go-lucky me, but all at once a real slick chick has him up a tree. And when they're by your side, you swallow or you cry. You know you just can't win, so you might as well give in. Soon wedding bells will ring. Beware of the weaker sex. So many times.
What'd you do when you got out of the Army?
Well, Jim Tagliaferri, who was my longtime friend, had told me when I came out of the Army, he always loved my songwriting ability, that we should open up a company and I should write some songs and make some records, get a group together.
wedding bells will ring. Beware of the weaker sex. Take care of the weaker sex.
So lo and behold, when I came out, he was ready to roll, and we started. I had written some songs, and I was coaching a group who turned out to be the Riffs, and they turned out to be a really fine group. And I added my cousin Jimmy Nisi to the group and as lead singer, and we hooked up with Dennis Lambert, who was a very young man at the time, had a lot of raw talent. And Dennis, Jimmy, and myself actually produced the riffs on all of their 5 songs.
To welcome me back home, the neighborhood was jumping back then. That was long ago. I think I'm hearing voices singing in harmony.
In '64, Jim and Phil started Sonny Lynn Records. Probably not the greatest time to start a new record label with the English Invasion just underway, although they did have a number of successes.
Well, they were signed with Sonny Records. That was us. That was my wife. Sonny was Jimmy's wife, and then our production company was Sonny Lynn Productions, which was Sonny, and Lynn was my wife. And we had an exclusive contract on them, and we produced them. And the songs that we did were Little Girl, which is pretty well known.
Little girl, 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 you're so nice, little girl, little girl, you're my sugar and spice, and I know you're just meant for me, little girl, little girl.
No, and that's another funny story. My entire life, no, I asked him outright because only did I learn this past year at the age of 57, I always thought it was Lulu Little Girl. Okay, how naive am I? So a few months ago, I'm like, Dad, the name of this song is Little Girl or whatever, and he goes, yeah. I'm like, it wasn't about me, and he laughed because he was just a kid when he wrote that. And he says, no, but he goes, it could be for you. I knew you were coming.
And I know you're just meant for me. Little girl, I dream of only you, little girl. You make my job come true, little girl. Come take me by the hand and lead us to our wonderland.
Because he would dedicate that song to me, and just naively, I believed it was Lulu Little Girl. Is it to learn that now? Yes.
And I know you're just meant for me. Little girl, little girl.
Well, I also thought that Phil wrote Little Girl for Lucy.
I thought so too.
I know he wrote All Grown Up for her.
Absolutely. I listened to it the other day, broke my heart.
Yeah, that song is on the Another Time Around album, and we're going to play it for you. This one is for Lucy.
Hey, Pete.
Hey.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Frankie.
Yo.
Louie.
Yeah.
Remember my little girl?
Yeah, Lucy.
Lucy, that's right. Let me tell you something. She's sure not so little anymore. She has a family of her own. Family of her own. Has her own happy home. A family of her own. Her own happy home. She's old.
Right. Yep. They got married in 63, and then we got here in January of 1964.
She has her own liabilities.
Yeah, my mom was like, I want to say 6 months pregnant when she got married.
She's all grown up. I look at her and it's quite unbelievable.
Yeah, but they met like in 60, I think. And then my dad had some girlfriends here, and they wanted him.
Girl to me, all grown up, not a little girl.
Yes, and then my mother actually said to him, I'm not going to marry you. You go back and you break it off correctly, because that's not fair to who's ever waiting for you over there. And I will be here. And don't you know, my dad came back for her. He did, and here I am. Yep. And here I am.
Come and gone, and she become a lady. What a lady, what a lady. But you know what she knows, she knows, she knows. She'll always be my baby. Gonna be my baby. I look at her, and it's quite unbelievable. My, she's grown. She's a big girl now.
This was an important period in Phil's life. He got a chance to exercise his ability to write, produce, and record. And with the riffs, they did do 5 songs: Little Girl, Hit Like a Storm, Where There Is a Will, Telltale Friends, and Why Are the Nights So Cold. We'll play Why Are the Nights So Cold and talk a little bit more about other influences Phil had to deal with.
So cold, why is it there dark and gray? I didn't believe them when they told me you'd gone away. I could die, I could die, I could sit right down and cry. Oh, why are the nights so cold?
Who was in the riffs at that time?
Well, they were all the original riff members are Carmine DeCenter, Louis Ligori, Joe Cicero, Jimmy Nisi, and Richie Giavelli. May he rest in peace.
I could die, I could die, I could sit right down and cry. Oh, why?
We were supposed to get a lot of airplay, and then all of a sudden the English invasion came in, and that screwed up everything we had going with the MCA. And
did you know my heart?
We ended up selling the Telltale Friends to High Weiss from Old Town Records.
Wow.
Did you know that's all my heart could take?
We had a good record, but we got little recognition for it.
Why is it there dark and gray? I should have believed.
But anyway, Dennis Lambert and myself were working on a few things, and all of a sudden it just seemed like nothing was working or nothing was coming of it, and I had to go out and make money because I had a family to support.
Oh, why are the nights?
It's not just a coincidence that 1964 was the first Beatles album release and the beginning of the flood of the British invasion music. DOO-WOP was essentially pretty much dying at that time. The well-established groups had to go out of their way to adjust their musical styles to conform to the musical revolution that was happening. Four Seasons, the Beach Boys, Dion, they all morphed into a different person, a different style, different personality during this period. And they kept their music in the marketplace this way. For Phil, this meant taking a new path in life for a while. When he left the office, Dennis Lambert was working on Do the Freddy, which was a hit in 1965. And that's just about the time Phil got out of the music business for a while. He didn't really get back into it until the late 70s. He says 79, I think it was more like 78. So following this period in his life, Phil has to do what is necessary to support a family, and he does.
I should mention, you know, he did own some clothing stores, and at that time, he was also hand painting. First, we had our own store on Rockaway Avenue. We had 2 stores, and in the second store, I mean, he was kicked in ass. He could not keep up with the amount of painting And I told you he would do the denim jackets with the album cover.
Yeah.
And he would have so many orders, he could not keep up with them. And I think just for shits and giggles, he used to take speed just to stay up overnight, get all these orders busted out.
God.
And he'd bring in people to come and help. And of course, they didn't do it right, his specifications, and now they were gone, and my mom would get so frustrated.
Yeah.
So he did have like 2 or 3 separate stores, and in the 70s, we were also going to the flea markets, selling hand-painted t-shirts and taking orders. That consumed a lot of the 70s, was family and hustling with the stores and hand painting.
He has Lucy, and they have a son. Son is 2, and unfortunately a tragic accident occurs that Lucy will discuss with us right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we lived in Jamaica, Queens at the time. We lived on the 6th floor, and my parents had painted the apartment, and my dad had left the window cracked. And don't you know, my brother fell out of the window early morning on a Sunday. It was, and I found him because we shared a room, and I got up and I'm like, where's Philip? Where's Philip? And I'm looking all over. My parents sleeping. I knew how to jimmy rig the apartment door so that I could get back in because I wasn't allowed to leave the apartment. So I put the bolt out and I went out in the hallway. I looked where the incinerator room was. Kept looking in the hall. And when I came back in, I said, even at 4, I'm like, why is this curtain hanging out the window? And I looked down and I found my brother. Yep, it was awful. There was always just something missing, you know. Like I said, when my dad passed, yes, a cloud. And I said, you know, at least Dad's not suffering all his hurts and all his haunts that he lived with, you know? Yeah.
Calm a storm with his hand. Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? And that little boy you kissed, you kissed the face of God. Oh, Mary, 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 did you know? Oh, Mary, 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 did you know? The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the land. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy one day will rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy was heaven's perfect lamb? And the sleeping child you're holding is the great I am.
Well, it was about 10 years later that Phil had the will and I guess the power to get back into doing music. He met Freddie Frogs Toscano and he was off building a new group called the Ribatones.
Let's start with the Ribatones, who were one of the first groups that you worked with after the Riffs. Yeah, and how did the group form?
Okay, I met Fred Toscano, who had a lot of experience in singing, all kinds of music.
Oh, him and Freddie? Okay, so we were friends also with Freddie's sister, Marie Roman, and Freddie lived in her house, yeah, and my mother and Marie absolutely adored each other. and we would go there, and it was always the Italian spread. When we'd get there, Marie would always have things for us, and yes, we were like actually friends. And when my dad used to hand paint the T-shirts back in the 70s, Freddie Frog's had a big clothing store, and my dad had an area where, I mean, it was like renowned in Valley Stream. It was the thing for kids, people to come in and request hand painting on T-shirts. And my dad also would do the denim jackets of like album covers.
And one night he said that he wanted to do a show, an oldies show. Could I get somebody that, a couple of the guys that sang? And I called Carmine DeSeno, who was an original member of the Riffs, and he got a hold of Lou Benevento, Tony Carbone, and Lou and myself, Freddie. We formed the Ribbitones, and it was for a one-night type of show, and we were received so well that we continued to go further with it.
Knowing that I loved you, how could you break my heart? Can't stand it any longer, wondering why we're apart. Please give me more than just man.
And here are the Ribbitones, and this is called United in Group Harmony.
We sang on every corner in the subway down the hall. We were still too young to read the writing on the wall. We danced across the happy days through the suffering and the pain, united in group harmony. The wine was flowing freely, the days went flying by. The whisper of wedding bells, it's enough to make you cry. Though we all went our separate ways, the memories still remain, united in group harmony. Memories, memories remain on memory lane.
And Freddie and I, together, we used to do arrangements that were show purpose-wise excellent. We were able to project what we wanted to do on stage and in our vocals. And the Ribbitones went on to really super success. And Freddie wrote the song United in Group Harmony for Ronnie I's 25th anniversary record, a silver record. And that song to me tells the meaning of all this music, and it just moves me when I listen to it.
Is hardly heard at all. So deep inside the memories comes that bittersweet refrain, united in group harmony. Memories, memories remain on memory lane. Still of the night. Memories, memories. Why don't you write me? Memories, memories. You say you want me to. I need you both. Memories on my memories. So much in love.
So the Ribbitones did quite well, as you said.
Well, we actually did a song, a remake of At My Front Door, that charted in Europe and picked up by a lot of record labels. The Ribbitones backed up Freddie on it. A great piece, really done really well. And that was probably our biggest acclaim to fame at that particular time with the Ribbitones.
Crazy little mama come knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knocking just like she did before. Hey! I said, crazy little mama come knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knocking just like she did before. Well, if you got a little mama and you wanna keep her neat, keep your mama off my street. Same thing will happen like it did before. She come knocking at my door. Crazy little mama come knocking just like she did before. Oh, well, I woke up this morning with a feeling of despair, looking for my baby, but she wasn't there. Heard somebody knocking, much to my surprise. There stood my baby looking in my eyes. Crazy little mama come knocking just like she did before. Hey! I said, crazy little mama come knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knocking at my front door. Crazy little mama come knocking just like she did before. Well, if you got a little mama and you wanna keep her neat, keep your mama off my street. Same thing will happen like it did before. Come knocking at my door. Crazy little mama come knocking just like she did before. There she goes, wop wop, a doodly wop, wop wop, doodly wop, wop 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 wop.
Having played guitar with the Ribbertones, I backed them up on both At My Front Door and Most of All. They're great songs, and with music, I even love them more. Here comes a cappella version of Most of All. It became an identifier for the Ribbertones. Everybody loved this version of the song.
Most of all, I want your warm embrace. No one can take your place. I need you most of all. Most of all, I want your sweet caress. Truly, I must confess. I need
Frank
you
Russo gave me the lineup of who sang what in these songs. At My Front Door, Philly sang the bass, and in Most of All, Freddie Frogg sang the bass. And it's just amazing that you'll find two great bass singers in a vocal group of this quality.
I away. No one's there, and that's why I'm so blue. Most of all, the one thing I miss the way we used to kiss. I need you most of all when I sleep at night. I dream wonderful dreams of you. And when I awake, no one's there, and that's why I'm so blue. Most of all, the one thing that I miss the way
need you most. Of all. Do do do. We boo wah. We
So, mentioning Ronnie I ran the UGHA Oldies Association. The Ribbitones appeared there numerous times, and this is an early appearance, a live appearance at UGHA, where Phil is also singing here. It's a very noisy tape. People, for some reason, sat near the microphones, and all they do is keep talking, but you can still make out the great sounds of the group through the noise. Okay, give it a shot. We're only going to do one of these.
And now the Ribbitones, as the street tones meet the Ribbitones right here. Give me a hand.
You know what I mean? And she was, now I don't know, sometimes she could be lying. Oh, this is going to sound good with the guitar. Yeah, these guys were on the Ronnie Ice show.
Lead singer on this song is Lou Benevento. Lou Benevento is was the original Ribbitones lead singer. He stuck with the group forever until they morphed into a number of different groups. He went to sing with the Cascades. Then he came back to the basic group formation and as a lead singer in the Dedications. And the Dedications have been staying on Long Island for 40 years now. And Lou was a great lead singer. Sorry about that track. It has a little noise at the end. You can actually hear the tape machine that somebody was using to transfer the songs to CD. Tape machine was stuttering a little bit, so it must have been an old tape. Well, Phil decided at one point he wanted to split from the Ribbitones. He was looking to be able to express his desires and what he wanted to hear in the music. And I think the Ribbitones, knowing the personalities, although they're all great performers and very talented, I think they were somewhat stuck in their ways and didn't want to go in the direction Phil really wanted to go. So they broke friendly, and Phil went off and developed the Velvet Riffs. And Velvet Riffs had a bunch of great arrangements and very talented guys also. So I'm going to play you a bunch of the Velvet Riffs things. The Velvet Riffs actually appeared at UGHA a number of times, but I'm not going to use those cuts. I'm going to use the cuts from the Don K. Reed show. They're much cleaner, and they're the same songs in pretty much the same order. So we're going to go with those.
So wrong, and those memories, sweet memories, like a ghost, they never ever die. And those memories, sweet memories, don't they sometimes make you wanna cry?
What you're listening to is original written by Phil, Sweet Memories. It was recorded by the Velvet Riffs in the studio. You can hear the production is really good. There were 4 songs on the Another Time Around album. This is one of them that was done in the studio by the Velvet Riffs. Everything else is an arrangement of someone else's music, always with a novel arrangement, and really good stuff. I'm going to play a lot of that for you.
I really do. Yep, Lulu. Oh, I don't know if you know this. At my wedding, now shame on me, I forget all who were there, but definitely Lulu Gorey, Larry Critelli, and whoever was in that circle at that time. I got married in '92. So what we did is we hired a DJ because he was a friend in the hospital I worked at, so he gave me like a good deal. And then I said, Dad, I want you guys to sing as well. Do you know, to this day, not just because it was my wedding, people tell me it was one of the best weddings they ever went to because we had something for everyone. We had all the dance music of today, and then the guys were singing doo-wop and a cappella, and they sang for hours. It was phenomenal. It was just great to have my dad singing at my wedding. Yeah, very cool.
That's all there's to it.
So, your next group included in the CD are the Velvet Riffs. So, tell us about this group.
Well, that came about. I wanted to start my own group because I had different areas that I wanted to go into a little bit more original than the Rivertones group. So I called an old friend, Lou Ligori, who was a member of the Riffs. His brother-in-law, Dennis Schmidt, an excellent lead. And Larry Catelli was a music teacher, excellent musician and singer. And then Billy Walsh came along, and that was the Velvet Riffs. And we did lots and lots of shows on Long Island. They were a well-polished group, and we were able to do shows that kind of filled. We didn't just get up there and sing a cappella. We did a show, and we were received really, really well. We also did the Don K. Reed show, which went over great, and I enjoyed singing with those guys very, very much. And what made it really nice is I reunited with Lou Ligori from the original Riff group.
Right. Now, unlike the original Riffs group, you actually sang with the Velvet Riffs?
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes, I did. I did all the vocal arrangements. I also sang bass for them.
Don't come knocking, I don't come knocking, I don't come knocking, don't come knocking, don't come knocking, I don't come knocking, I don't come knocking, don't knocking.
Listening to that guitar lead at the end of the song, I remember Phil telling me that he had to motivate the guitar player at the session. He gave him a bit of a pep talk at the end of the song, made him do the tracks a number of times until they were all happy with it. And he just challenged him to do better, and he got a really nice product. I think it's a pretty good guitar lead at the end. When I spoke to Dennis Schmidt, I asked him how long the Velvet Riffs were together. He said between around 1980 and 1982, during which time they were very busy. They were playing in pretty much the weekends in clubs and doing lots of other appearances. Here's an appearance on the Don K. Reed, a whole number of tracks that we're going to play. Okay.
The Velvet Riffs, my special guests live here in the DOO-WOP shop this Sunday night here at CBS FM.
When a song moves me, it can give me inspiration. I feel all of life's sensation. When the song moves me.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said
yesterday.
All right, sounding good here in the doo-wop shop. There you have the Velvet Riffs, and they're my special guests. And you mentioned how the name was picked, you know, a combination of two groups that you, Phil, had sung with. How did you get the Velvet Riffs that I see before me together? Or maybe you didn't, maybe somebody else did. I have a feeling maybe it was you behind this whole thing. I don't know. Tell me.
Well, I called up Lou, who was a member of the original Riff group, and I had met Dennis previously. He was playing with the rock and roll band. And
You're talking about Louis Liguori, right?
Louis Liguori, right. And we decided to put something together, and we ended up with Dennis Schmidt and Larry Critelli, and we picked up Billy Walsh along the way somewhere, and it turned out to be a really nice thing between all of us, and what we have going for us has been really great.
Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising. Temperature rising. Higher and higher, it's burning through to my soul. To my soul. Girl, 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 you're gonna set me on fire. Set me on fire. My brain is flaming, I don't know which way to go. Where to go? Because your kisses lift me higher, like a sweet song of a choir. You light my morning sky with burning love. I feel my temperature rising. Temperature rising. Lord, I'm hot. I must be 109. 109. It's a burning, burning, and nothing can cool me. Nothing can cool me. I might turn to smoke, but I feel fine. I feel fine. Because your kisses are lifting me higher, like a sweet song of a choir. You light my morning sky with burning love. Oh, with your burning, baby, with your burning, burning love. Oh, it's coming closer, flames are now licking my body. Licking my body. Won't you help me? Feel like I'm slipping away. Slipping away. It's hard to breathe, and my chest is a heaving. Chest is a heaving. Lord have mercy, burning a hole where I lay. Where I lay. Because your kisses lifted me higher, like a sweet song of a choir. You light my morning sky with burning love. Burning love. Oh, with your burning love. Burning love. I'm just a hunk of 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 burning love. Baby, just a hunk of burning love. Baby, just a hunk of burning love. Baby, just a hunk of burning love. Just a hunk of burning love.
Right, there you have the Velvet Riffs. That's Burning Love, and that was Larry, wasn't it, on lead there?
That was me.
Larry Critelli.
Well, Dennis actually puts in words what all the folks have known. The Velvet Riffs had their own very unique style, and it was really due to Phil's guidance.
How'd you get to be part of, the Velvet Riffs here?
Well, you can get guys together to sing a cappella, and you can get guys together to really learn a style of singing. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to more or less progress, and I knew what Phil could do, and so talking with Lou and Phil, we just decided, let's go out and do this thing and do it our own way, have our own style, and present it to the people.
In other words, the Velvet Riffs want to give their own little signature to every song they do. Is that the idea?
Definitely.
And I think you're letting the audience hear that too tonight. I really do. Okay, we'll talk to Bill. We haven't forgotten you. We'll get you up right after we hear some more. In fact, I think you're going to do a Four Seasons medley, right? All right, here they are live at CBS FM, the Velvet Riffs.
I'll go on living and keep on forgiving because you were my first love. Sherry, Sherry baby, Sherry, Sherry baby, Sherry, Sherry baby, Sherry baby, Sherry, can you come out tonight? Come out tonight, Sherry.
Sherry, baby, Sherry, can you come out tonight? Come out tonight.
Why don't you come out?
Come with your red dress on.
Come out.
You know you look so fine.
Come out.
Come shake it nice and easy.
Boom.
Girl, you make me lose my mind. Big girls don't cry. They don't cry.
Mama.
Big girls don't cry.
Who said they don't cry? My girl
Said goodbye.
My oh my, my girl
Didn't cry.
I wonder why. Ragdoll, hand me down.
When she was just a kid, her clothes were hand-me-down.
Hand me down.
They always laughed at her when she came into town. Called her Ragdoll, little Ragdoll. Such a pretty face, should be dressed in lace.
Well, I'm happy to say that that arrangement of those Four Seasons songs is still being done by the Dedications. Seeing it was brought to the group by Lou Ligori and Dennis Schmidt, who sang lead with the Dedications for a while. So now we're going to go back to one of those studio recordings by the Velvet Riffs. This is a great song, Oh What a Feeling.
The best thing in your life when you have love, you'll have your everything. So darling, don't let love just slip away. Keep it with you night and day. It's a beautiful feeling. Love is hard to find. It's just one of a kind, and it's oh what a feeling. Oh what a feeling. Love's feeling. Oh what a feeling. Love's feeling. There'll be good times, there'll be bad. Feel sad. There'll be times when you don't care. You wouldn't care. That's what love is all about. And you'll see me find it out.
Oh, absolutely. I used to go to the gigs with him and the rehearsals and even through the 80s. Oh, yes. That I remember sitting in recording studios on the floor and my mom would go, shh, and I'd have my books and I'd have to do homework while Dad was recording something. Yes. Yes. Very cool.
Don't let love just slip away. Keep it with you night and day. It's a beautiful feeling. Special love is hard to find. It's just one of a kind.
Well, we're going to take a break of going through Phil's life sequentially. We give you a view of a gentleman named Bobby Zelenka, who knew Phil in grade school, and will pass along his years of observations and interactions with Phil.
Searching all over this restless, restless world, and I can't seem to find the one and only girl I loved all around. But now I
Received a 2-page note from Bobby Z, or Bobby Zelenka. He's from the Reflections. If you might know their songs, Rocket to the Moon, and I Really Must Know. Probably going to play those for you. He went to school with Phil in PS 52. It was grammar school. They developed a relationship over fishing. Later on, they would hang out in Brookville Park and harmonize, but he said no one knew what they were doing, and everyone was on the same note in the background.
restless, restless world, and I can't seem to find the one and only girl I loved all around. But now I have to go to find another love. Whoa, whoa.
Well, Phil graduated a year before Bobby, and Bobby says that when he went to school for the first time in Woodrow Wilson, on the first day they had orientation, and a singing group came out to sing. It was an interracial group, one white guy. Do you know who that guy was? Yep, you guessed, Phil Spina, and it was a great group.
Really, 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 really must know now. Really, 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 really must know. 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 Really, really, really must know. Bow, boom, ba, boom, bow, bow. You took my love, said goodbye. You took my heart, made me cry. My darling, why did you do it? Why'd you let me go? Really must know. Really must know.
Well, we didn't see much of each other in high school, and as time went on, our lives separated completely because of jobs, military, and kids. Many years went by until the name of Phil Spina came up again, and that was in 2004. I had just made a CD with my old singing group, The Reflections from Rosedale. One of the guys lived in St. Petersburg and knew Phil and gave him my phone number. After we finished the CD, he and I received a call from Phil. We chatted for quite a while about the old days and about all the fun we had when we were growing up. He said that he heard our CD and that it was fantastic. We would talk some more over the years about music in the old neighborhood. He told me that he went back last year and was sorry that he did. They say you can never go back. Getting back to Bobby's observations and note, we would go out to lunch occasionally, different places. Jim Pace would come to Florida several times a year, and we would meet at Dunkin' Donuts. It was Jim, Philly, Joe Carbone, and myself. Guess what we talked about? Singing in the good old days.
Reuniting is such a good day. You see those guys who used to be a part of your youth. They told you the truth of how life used to be. Yeah, yeah, you think of the past and all of the laughs.
Well, here's more personal coincidences. Jim Pace, of course, is from the Newports, the Ribbitones, and the Dedications. And Joe Carbone happens to be the cousin of Anthony Carbone. He was the tenor in the Rivertones. Also, I found out my very good friend Al Tone used to sing with the Reflections and is on that 2004 Reflections CD. Al and I are currently singing and performing with the renditions of South Florida, and he and I have a duo act also.
Okay, on the street. We're going back. We're going back. We're going back. The street of yesterday.
This song was written by Al Tone. It addresses that feeling of singing doo-wop on the street and going back to those great old times.
The streets of yesterday. We're going back to the streets.
Going back.
We're going back to the streets of yesterday. We're going back to the streets.
Going back.
We get together to blow harmony. Each guy would have to find his part, and then we would start that old 50s beat. That music was so sweet. We were always a group. We sat on the stoop. The neighbors always gather round to hear our sound. The smiles on their face. We knew this was our place. We're going back to those old days.
Never gone.
When simple things were all our ways.
On and on.
And everything was so okay.
Never better.
On the street.
We're on the streets. We're on the streets. We're on the streets.
The streets of yesterday.
We're on the streets. We're on the streets. We're on the streets.
The streets of yesterday.
We're going back to the streets of yesterday. We're going back to the streets.
Going
We're
back.
going back to the streets of yesterday. We're going back to the streets.
Going back.
I get a lot of respect for his talent. He was a great guy.
Aw,
Yeah.
thank you. Just for shits and giggles, funny thing. My mother, as I was telling you, very strict German mother, and she would yell at me, and she would beat me, she hit me, thinking that I deserved it if I did something. I would just take it, and then she'd go, wait till Daddy comes home. And my father would walk in, and he'd look at me all stern, and he'd go, Boo, tell me the truth. Did you do this? And I'd say, yes, Dad. And he'd shake his head and go, very uncool. Uncool, Lou. I'm disappointed. And that was all he had to say. And I would crumple. And my mother would go, here, I scream at you. I hit you. And all your father has to say is, uncool, Lou. And that would bring me to my knees, Yeah, 'cause that was just the way Dad was, and he'd always say, just tell me the truth, and you're not going to get in any trouble. And he mentored me. He raised me like a friend, as long as the element of respect was there that he was my father, you know?
Yeah.
So I'll never switch the dial. I just rather hear those songs. I can sing along with. Play me those same same old songs.
Well, this chapter in Phil's life in New York kind of fades out. It's after 1982. Phil's working, he saved some money. Apparently he was working at Siemens Furniture, and Lennon wanted to buy a house. So they decided to go to Florida, where Lucy thought she was going to move eventually. So they moved down to Florida in 1987.
To another time and place, and those songs can always put a smile upon my face. And when I hear the words, I can't help but sing along. They bring back those good times. All of those good my car, my radio's full blast. I hear the DJ say, here's a great one from the past. This song was #1 back in 1963. And let me tell you people, it's still sounding good to me. Bring back those...
Phil apparently got the idea for the Another Time Around project when he moved down to Florida. He was writing, I quite remember that, him telling me. He said he was at his piano when he had a terrible pain in his leg, and that's when he had an aneurysm.
We almost lost him, yeah. It was maybe 98, 99, and I'll tell you who saved him was Tommy Mara, Connie, Kenny. They would visit him at the hospital. Tommy would come every day. They'd come to the house to visit my dad, and my mother would say, oh my God, thank God for these guys. They're so good for your dad's spirits.
Still send a chill up and down my spine. And when I hear them, they bring back, oh, the greatest memories. And at times I think the songs.
So Phil can't really take his Another Time Around project any further. He had to get better. He talks about his disappointment with Mike Miller in their interview.
One of the tunes that we did on a Mystic CD was Another Time Around.
Well, I wrote that song because I was working on a project at the time, which was called Another Time Around, and I wanted to do all original songs, and I wrote that song as the kick-in song. And right from the beginning, it was something that kind of sounded like back then what we were doing and what it was all about. And unfortunately, I couldn't finish the project. But those things happen, and you just deal with them as best you can.
I love those songs, same old song. Won't you play them again and again? I love those songs. Remember, 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 remember. Oh, my love, remember, my darling.
Well, Phil had written many songs before this aneurysm event. He had sent us numerous tapes of all song ideas that he was working on. Later on in 2013 is when we actually got a lot of his preliminary demos he was doing for each of these songs. During the time after his aneurysm, it appears that he spent a lot of time focusing on family, and he was working with the horse stable. He had a part ownership in a horse. One of the horses he had picked won the Kentucky Derby in 2008. Mike Miller talks to him about this also, so let's listen and see what they say.
You own racehorses.
I own small pieces of them, but I do manage a horse racing stable, and we've had some success. And in fact, probably one of our horses are going to be running at Belmont shortly.
Huh.
And I was involved with the people that won the Kentucky Derby in 2008 Big Round.
Uh-huh.
And we bought that horse for a considerable amount of money. I was an advisor on that part of that group, so I got to go to the Derby in a private jet and got to go to the Preakness and the Belmont, and it was a great experience. Got to go to a couple of Breeders' Cup, and I also participated in buying the Belmont Stakes winner, Union Rags, won 2 years ago, and it's been great, and I'm still participating in it, but not to the amount that I was, because we're down to a few horses, but we do breed the mares to Big Round, which is, a very, very big part of the business, is naturally the stud part of the business.
Right,
so that's
right.
what I've been concentrating on.
So you think you're a moon, and you can't see the moon.
But I wasn't sure about Big Brown, and that's later on, so I don't want to get it out of sequence.
Yeah, that was like, if I would have to ask my kids to look at some memorabilia. That was in the 2000s when he was traveling all over and buying and selling horses and doing the racing, and that was right before my mom got sick. Yes, Mom had lung cancer, and she passed in 2013. She was diagnosed, November 18th of 11, because that was my son's 18th birthday, and that's the news we get. By the time we found my mom's cancer, she presented with a brain issue. So they thought she had a stroke, but it ended up being that she had stage 4 cancer that had already spread to her brain.
It was just the three of us in a hospital room, and we're trying to process it. And my mom looks at him and she goes, "Are you effing telling me that I'm gonna die before you?" And he burst out laughing.
I'm weary all the time. He's hurting, so he's hurting all the time. He's hurting now. When she went away, the blues walked in and met me. If she stays away.
You tragically lost your lifelong partner, of many years, and of course there's nothing that can be said except to feel the emotions. You went through something that is probably the worst thing you can go through, and that's losing your life partner.
Yeah, I know, Mike. It's okay. I'll be all right.
I know, and it's tough, but know that all of your friends are there to support you during that time. And I know you were very, very busy. You even, when I saw you the next time, apologized to me and said, I've had such a long couple of years, and it took a lot out of me. You said, but now I need to go back to what got me there, and I need to be creative, and I need to start living, and I need to start writing, and I need to start giving.
I thought of the idea of getting all the old groups and guys back together again and doing a CD of all original songs written by myself and personal friends, Carmine DeCenter, Joe Cicero, and yourself and Tommy Mara, and everybody thought it was a great idea, so we decided to pursue it. And we named it Street Corner to Fame, The Last Hurrah. It started off with about 5 or 6 guys. We're probably up to 50 or 60 now, and we got some really great participants, and we're going to have some great songs on there.
Let's do it again, just like we did way back when. Just like we did. Just like we did. Just like we did. Like we did. In the 50s and 60s. Let's do it again. Sing in the street. Stop to the beat. Just like we did. Like we did. In the 50s and 60s. Another time. Another place. Here we are. We're face to face. A chance to do it all again. The way we did it way back when. Let's do it again. No reason why. Give it a try. Just like we did. Just like we did. Just like we did. Like we did. In the 50s and 60s. Let's do it again. Let's twist and shout. Knock it on out. Just like we did. In the 50s and 60s. Another time, it's another place.
Phil marshaled all his resources that year, and he was traveling around the United States, linking in with all his buddies and all of his associates to get folks to participate in this Another Time Around activity.
Let's
Well, his search brought him in contact with a lot of old friends, and he renewed a lot of old friendships. But in the meantime, he accidentally ran into a woman named Shirley. And I'm going to read you what I wrote from a discussion with Shirley on how she met Phil.
Just like we did, just like we did, just like we did, like we did, like we did, just like we did.
Well, I did ask Shirley how she met Phil and when. They met in 2014. That was pretty much when the Another Time Around album activity was probably being its height. Everyone was getting their songs together and a lot of recording was going on. Well, Shirley tells me she was on a mission to track down an internet dating site scammer. She was in Florida at the time, thinking she would actually be able to locate this creep. This guy had cheated her girlfriend out of a lot of money. In this process, she was going through lots of pictures on the site to try to find this creep. Depending on her intuition and clairvoyance, Shirley keeps returning to a picture of this fellow, and he became her prime scammer suspect. Yes, God pointed her to him. Shirley hits the wake button, which I've come to learn is a standard response on an internet dating system. Well, she sees that Phil responds instantly, and oh boy, she thinks, I found him. But after some discussion and each reviewing each other's profile, they stayed online and spoke for about 3 hours. They would have met in person after that, but Shirley was on her way back north, and there was no time. After that, Phil and Shirley Skyped every day for hours. What hooked Phil was when Phil asked her to sing, and she sang a great rendition of I Left My Heart in San Francisco. A dozen roses was delivered the next day, and a few days later, Phil appeared at her door. And that's quite a thing because Shirley's up in Syracuse, and Phil had to travel from Florida. From that time on, they stayed together and got married 2 years ago. They share children. Phil has 1 daughter and 3 grandchildren. Shirley has 8 children. She has 7 great-grandchildren from all of her children. I don't know how you keep track of them. Well, it's a great story. I know that Shirley really loves Phil. I have a recording of her doing a great song where she talks about this, and I'm going to play that for you.
From a long time ago, baby, we can sing along the way we used to do. I'll hold you close, you touch and we'll kiss. Sweet memories are made of moments like this, moments like this. I'll bring the roses. You pick up the wine. It's a night made for love. That's all I'm thinking of. Love's the only thing. Yes, love's the only thing. Love's the only thing on my mind tonight.
For once in my life, I've someone who needs me, someone I've needed so long. For once unafraid, I can go where life leads me. Somehow I know I'll be strong. For once I can touch what my heart used to dream of long before I knew. Someone warm like you,
who could make my dreams come true. For once in my life, won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I've got someone I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say this is mine, you can't take it. As long as I know I've got love, I can make it. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. Took a while, but I found him. Almost 70 years. But I got him, yeah! And you know what? He's told me he'll be there for me. Right, Phil? No matter what. Yeah. And thank you, Gracie, for raising him so good. For once I can say this is mine, you can't take it. As long as I know I got love, I'm gonna make it. For once in my life, I've got someone, yeah, for once in my life, I've found someone. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me.
Well, chronologically, this recording was done in my studio in Oldfield. It was done at the time we were doing a couple of cuts for the Another Time Around album, and Phil and Shirley came over armed with a whole number of tracks for us to put together into a radio show. And it was a joy working with them doing that. Yeah, Shirley is just wonderful to work with. Her voice is great, and she's got great composure when she's singing.
And so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case of which I'm certain.
Exactly, and Dad was brokenhearted, and I think he knew it was coming for him. He was just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop.
I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this. I did it my
I miss him like crazy.
Oh, regrets, I had a few, but then again, too few to mention.
Can this song be the epitome of Phil Spina? I think so. He's the kind of guy that always did what he had to do and always did it right. Hell with the consequences.
I planned each chartered course, each careful step on the byway, more, oh, much more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times I'm sure you knew when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and I spit it out. Well, I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way.
Mike, all I got to say to you is you make the best pasta I ever tasted. It was absolutely delicious. And what more can I say? Your hospitality was genuine, and I love you. And it was a pleasure to be there and share that time together. And with that, I'll say goodnight and goodbye. And I hope continued success to whatever we do, Mike. I love you, buddy.
I love you too, man. Thank you.
To think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no.
Producer Phil Spina left us on June 20th. Thanks, Phil, for all you have done. We won't ever forget.
For what is a man? What has he got if not himself? Then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. Let the record show I took the blows and did it my way. Every step along the highway, yes, folks, yes, it was mine.
Shirley told me that she was very concerned every time she was going into Phil's room in those last couple of days. She wasn't sure what she was going to find. And she felt that I should play this song to express how she felt. And here it is.
Bless this house. As I walked through the doors, I felt his presence, and I knew this was a place where love abounds. This is a temple, and Jehovah God abides here, and I'm standing in his presence on holy ground. I'm standing on holy ground, and I know your angels are all around, and I wanna thank you, Lord. I wanna thank you now, because we're in his presence on holy ground. As I stand here and I sing this song, what I'm asking for is a blessing on this house, that new people can come here and find joy. Yes. In his presence I found joy beyond measure, and at his feet my peace of mind can still be found. And when I've got a problem, oh, I know he has the answers to all my questions. And he says, child of mine, come on, you're on
holy ground. You see, I'm standing on holy ground, and I know there are angels all around, and I want to thank you, Lord. Oh, I want to thank you now, because I'm hearing your presence on holy ground. I want to raise my hands and praise you now, because I'm here in your presence. And this morning I was kneeling in your presence, hearing your presence on holy ground. So Lord, this is my request. This is my prayer, my privilege. And may the Lord God give you what you've asked. On holy ground.
Well, I was tempted to end the show with that song, and it would be very appropriate if I did. I still have the feeling there were so many other good songs that Phil had put together. I want to play them all, but I can't. I suggest everybody who really has a lot of love for Phil and the things he's done, take a listen to his Another Time Around album. He's written a number of songs that were dedicated to Lynn and to other people that he ran across. You just have to listen and figure it out who. I'm going to play the last song. I wanted to play his When Old Friends Meet, which was a song we almost completed, but we're going to put that off for some later YouTube publication. So we're going to go with the final song from the ATA album, and I want to thank everyone for listening. I do know everybody who loves Phil will listen to this, and I think we'll appreciate the things he's done in life and the good person he was. Thank you all for listening.
We're not singing on the corner. We're not singing down the hall. The subway sounds so silent. There's been no echo of the wall, but the sound lives on in our hearts, in our soul. Though we're far and few between, but as strange as it may seem, we're devoted to keeping the sound alive. We'll sing forever our group harmonies. Oh, we're devoted to keeping the sound alive. DOO-WOP's a big part of rock and roll history. The 50s and 60s have long come
sing. We're devoted to keeping the sound alive. We'll sing forever our group harmony. Oh, we're devoted to keeping the sound alive. DOO-WOP's a big part of rock and roll history.
We're not singing on the corner, we're not singing on the hall. We're not singing on the corner, we're not singing